Well, good evening or good morning, as it may be for most of you. I wanted to give you the results of our little pop quiz and kind of talk a little bit about how this all works with what we're kind of reading about our different ethical frameworks, the values that underpin those frameworks, um, naturally, integrity, not so much competence here, um, but it was interesting that I received initially the question that again we posed was basically if you were transposed in time to Nazi Germany, would you have spoken out publicly, let's say, regarding the atrocities that were being committed? Um, and would you have done so at your own risk and that, of course, your family, let's say, maybe even friends? Um, And initially, most of you began by responding no. But then later, I got a lot of yeses. So, as of this evening, when I'm doing the video, 14 of you responded. 8 said no, you would not have done it. 6 said yes. So, kind of fairly even. Um, but let me just go over some of the no's, okay? Some of the rationales, or rationale. Basically, it was for fear of family. All right, not even so much fear of your own life, but your family. If you're a mom, you're concerned about your husband, maybe children in particular. Probably your husband's an afterthought, right? So, um, but that was the concern. That hey, if I speak out, my family will suffer. Okay. Um, some of the more, shall I say, thoughtful no's were no, we're not going to publicly speak out, but we're going to work secretly underground to do what we can. And that was the answer that my mother and her family in World War II in fascist Italy chose that route. Her she was a World War II nurse, my mom. She cared for both Nazis and American soldiers. And during that war, um, you had to be a fascist. Her uncle was the primary physician in the small town where they were living, and the believe it or not, the local Nazi colonel befriended my uncle or my mom's uncle, my great uncle, and he, the uncle, used that relationship and began taking Italian Jews into the home. They had a very large home, almost like a mansion. There's plenty of bedrooms, like about 7, 8 bedrooms at least. And they would hide the Italian Jews under the beds, behind the wine vats up in the attic, even in furniture. They had these big, huge wardrobe, like closets. Walk in, and they would hide them there. They'd hide them behind the draperies. Some of you may recall the old homes in Europe have these rugs, basically carpets that cover the wall. They would hide them there. They did whatever they can to protect the Italian Jews. And I asked my mom, why'd you do that? She said, look, first of all, we had to all pretend to be fascist because if we didn't pretend to be fascist, we'd get in trouble. But we knew, as Catholics and as Christians, the Jews were children of God. We had to take care of them. We had to protect them, even at our own risk. So, those of you who responded no and kind of had that thinking, because some of you did, that you would not overtly argue, but you would covertly support a resistance, to me makes practical sense. But most of you that said no basically said, I don't care. My family comes first. Now, please, I'm overgeneralizing. Do not take this personally. But yet, I do want you to take it personally, because if it hurts, that means you're going to grow. Some of you were very selfish in your responses when you said no. What makes your family, your children, better than a Jewish child or a gay teenager or a disabled child? What makes them more important that you would not resist, not say anything, but allow those children who look different, who believe in a different God, who act differently, you let them die. You let them suffer. Check yourself, because you know what? You're taking this class to get 3 credits, evidently. Those of you that said no and, show no compassion for your fellow man or woman. Is this why we're having so many problems in this country? We see wrong and we don't do anything about it. We turn the other way if we see someone getting mugged. Why? Because we might get hurt. What does that do with bad behavior? Doesn't it embolden the bad behavior? A federal prosecutor once told me, if you don't nip crime in the bud, it only gets worse. The perpetrators continue to do bigger and worse things. So for those of you that said no, because your skin is more important than their skin, check yourself, because you know what? Working in public service, you're not going to be very effective. Yeah, you'll get the job done, but are you really serving the public, or are you serving your skin? You're serving yourself. That's self-service. It's not public service. Okay? I speak from experience. I had to speak out a couple of times, and it cost me 2 promotions. But I'd rather have my integrity and maintain my core values. I'm not perfect. God knows I'm not. But whenever I saw someone being bullied or being mistreated, I spoke up. And I'm glad I did. Okay? So for those of you that said no, I got your names here. I won't call you out. But check yourself. Okay? Because it's a shallow response. Unless you said, like 2 or 3 of you, very enlightened people, by the way, and I want to thank, and you know who you are. Believe me, I'll keep you in mind when grading comes, right? For all of you, actually, who participated in this, whether your response, is as I would think appropriate or not. So not that you were wrong in saying no, but when you say no, and you see crime and you see bad things happen, you're part of the problem. Okay? Now, those of you that said yes, I got words for you too. 6 of you said, oh yeah, I'll stand up. No problem. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in the fight. Do you know how many high school fights I went to? When I was a kid growing up in Newark, New Jersey, we always fought in Newark, right? I could tell you stories, but I can't put them on video. How many of my so-called friends, don't worry, Dom, we got your back, man. Cheerleaders, they don't take the field. Those of you that answered yes, I have a question for you. When the federal government, state government, and even Rutgers University mandated an experimental vaccine for people, regardless of their status, their health status, and told them, if you don't take this vaccine, you ain't got a job. You're out of here. How many of you that said yes, out of the 6 of you, did you stand up? Maybe write a letter to your congressman or to the provost and say, this is inappropriate. This is a violation of civil liberties. You social justice warriors, 1 or 2 of you are social justice warriors. Where's the social justice in that? Forcing somebody to take an injection that they don't want to take or they don't feel good taking. The truth is starting to finally come out, and many of you don't want to hear it. Keep your eyes closed, your ears closed and shut. Vaccine injuries are serious. I've got a neighbor right down the street. He's dying from Lou Gehrig's disease 1 week after the vaccine. Now you could say, hey, it was something else. Yeah, it could have been. But you got a lot of these people coming forward now. So those of you that answered yes, you're so strong and bold. What'd you do during that? For those of you that are older, maybe you saw some other injustices in society, whether it was civil rights, maybe the mistreatment of, certain ethnic groups, maybe the elderly or the disabled. Do you stand up? Have you stood up? Because if you haven't, don't tell me you would have done it 60 years ago in Nazi Germany. I won't buy it. Nor should you. Why is Professor Dom doing this? It's not to poke fun. It's not to criticize any of you. It's to get you to think. To think. What are my core values? Do I only care about my skin? And a lot of you do. Okay? Do I only care about people who look like me or act like me? A lot of you do. How does society maintain civility and morality if we allow bullies, including our government at times, to mistreat people and we stay silent? So if you're a true social justice warrior, you just won't be looking at skin color. You won't be looking at who's sleeping with who. You'll be blind to who the person is, but you'll be looking for any social injustice, including what most recently during the pandemic we saw, censorship, censoring doctors and scientists who were against the vaccine, who had bona fide reasons to be. And what happened? They were censored. You shut up. You can't say anything. Unless you're part of that group think, which people call woke, you ain't nothing but a joke. Well, that's not right. Everyone has a voice. Even a minority group should be listened to, because you never know, there's an element of truth in those things, right? So, again, I did the pop quiz partly because I wanted to maybe give you a little extra credit when I go to grade your discussion threads 3, but more importantly to get you to think. Those of you that said no, you got some soul searching to do. You really do. Okay? Those of you that said no without offering some type of resistance. And those of you that said yes, you have some soul searching to do. Because most of you, I bet, if not all of you, have not really spoken out against the most recent injustices, forcing people again to either take a vaccine or lose their job, their livelihood. Well, how do they pay their mortgage? How do they pay their grocery bills? What happens to their children? No one cared. No one cared. Were you part of that group that just said, oh, they deserve it because they're all part of you know what political party? Is that how we look at things? What's your ethical framework, my friends? Are you truly a human being looking to gather as much evidence and make an unbiased decision? Or are you pretending to be that, but really harboring biases, fears, and prejudices? I would submit to you it's the latter. And that's why this course is tough. For those of you that really care, it's going to be really some soul searching. Okay? So that's what I got for you tonight. All right? We'll be looking at discussion threads 4. Some of you lost points on discussion thread 3. Please remember, I want to see interaction among some of you, okay? And try to interact with some other people, not just the same folks, okay? But again, interaction if you can. Those of you who post late, it's okay, but it's better if you post some commentary early. Maybe when someone makes a post on the first or second day, you can add a comment and then you could post later. That's fine, but at least I see you're interested in the thread. Otherwise, I know the game. I was a student too. I mean, in my master's class, right? Or in my program, I had 12 classes. I only touched books in 3 or 4 of those classes. The other ones, I was able to kind of fake it through. So I know how academics work, okay? So I don't want to take all that flexibility away from you, but I do want to put a little pressure on you to contribute more in the threads and to really think about who you think you are. Because who you think you are, when you stand in that mirror, you might not be who you really think you are. And don't be afraid to ask yourself the tough questions. Who am I? What is it that I truly believe? What are my biases? Are there any groups of people that I kind of hate? But I won't call it hate. I just don't like them. Think about it. And you know what? You're going to answer yes if you're honest. If you answer no, you're either getting ready to be beatified to be a saint, or man, you're on some higher spiritual plane, which I'm glad. Very few people are there. We're all struggling, including me. All right? Have a wonderful evening if you watch this Sunday night. Great day if this is Monday. All right? Hang in there. Discussion thread 4 and 5 are going to be pretty good. Wait till we get to 5. I can't wait. But anyway, thank you again for signing up for this class and for participating. Okay? This is for you. Have a good night.